Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's Pivot in Progress episode. Today's topic is something that we get a lot of questions, a lot of demand for in terms of helping our clients at Pivot who are in mid-career transition stages to understand how they should navigate the current job market around this, which is how do you leverage AI for advancing your design career or for making a shift within your career that will work better for your long term goals. So, for that topic, we have a brilliant speaker with us today. She's just backstage. I'm going to bring her up right away. There we go. All right. Welcome, Radhika. How are you doing?
Great. Very nice to meet you, Arjun. And I'm really glad to be part of this discussion today. Looking
Yeah,
forward.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for making time for this. Um, I think this is something that we are doing for the first time, Radhika. So what would help maybe where we can start is just do a quick round of intros, and then we'll dive right into the topic. So I can go first, and for those who don't know me, so my name is Arjun, and I'm the founder of Pivot. The reason we started Pivot back in 2021 was I had spent about a decade in HR consulting, both in US as well as in India. And one of the common questions that kept coming back to was that there are so many consultants, there's so many people who are focused on helping organizations deal with large workforce transitions and other types of evolution that businesses go through, but there are very few people who are actually helping folks at the individual level, and helping them shape their individual careers in a more effective manner. So we also saw a lot of change, a lot of different type of transitions coming up that have not really happened, let's say, in the prior decades, but will become more and more necessary and popular in the coming years. So that's the reason we started Pivot, is to make mid-career transitions more seamless and successful. We'll talk a little bit more about what we do exactly, how it all works in the course of this conversation. But for now, I'll turn it over to Radhika. Radhika, welcome again, and maybe if you could just start by sharing a bit about your background and kind of exactly what you do today, that would be great.
Sure. I'm Radhika. I've been in the design industry for over 14 years now. Design is all I've always wanted to do since my ninth grade. I never had a plan B. So I'm just very fortunate and very happy that I'm able to do that every day of my life. I really enjoy what I do. Looking at my career over the last 14 years, I've had experience with consultancy and product both. I started my career as a design researcher. And like I said, when I look back at the career, right, like the career journey as such, each stage of my career, each experience that I've had has really helped me understand the nuances of design, dig deeper into what I truly understand and create and who I am right now. So yeah, I started as a design researcher, so it helped me understand the base, right, like the true problem, identify the root cause of where and how we really, create solutions for our users. Then I moved into UI UX. I worked with Human Factors International (HFI). It's one of the pioneers in UX industry. So I was with them for over 5 years. I used to also teach the CUA course there for over 3 years across different continents. Um, and then I moved to product. Then I moved to PayU Payments in Gurgaon. Worked there for about 5 years, and now I'm with Microsoft, close to 4.5 years now. Yeah, it's been great. I work with the Microsoft security team in Microsoft. It's been lovely. It's a great domain to be in right now, considering
Mhm.
how much the industry is evolving and how much cybersecurity is really important. And to be able
Yeah.
to get the opportunity to create something with a company and organization like Microsoft. It's been a great experience so far. So yeah, that's on the professional side. Personally, I have a daughter, 7 years old. Love her to bits. She's everything for me. World revolves around her. I love
Mhm.
storytelling since my childhood.
Yeah.
I have also written, and my daughter also loves storytelling, and she's also into the creative field. She loves drawing, sketching, all of that. She's been like that since a long time. So
Yeah.
I recently published two books, which is a kid's storybook, and yeah, all the illustrations which are there in that is all inspired by my daughter's drawings. So it's very special to me. Yeah, so that's about me.
No, that's great. And, thanks for sharing a bit about the personal side of things. It's always good to know, how you spend your time outside of work. I think a lot of things that you do outside of work also inform how you, bring yourself to your work. So I think it's really helpful. Um, but Radhika, I think where we can start and, just kind of laying the, high level foundation of this particular topic is getting your perspective on how you are seeing the design field, especially UI UX, kind of evolving over the last, let's say, 1 or 2 years. And I don't really want to go, very far back. Also, I mean, we can, but I think the world has changed so rapidly over the last couple of years, including design and certain other functions and how work is done, what kind of skills are needed, why companies are changing their workforce strategies in terms of hiring, as well as how they integrate AI agents within their workflows. So what I would love to understand from your perspective, working at a company like Microsoft, which is at the forefront of AI, plus other organizations that you've worked at previously, what are the top, let's say, three trends which you feel are really shaping the field of design and how work gets done?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most talked about topic now everywhere.
Mhm.
Like whoever we talk to, be it design or be it any other domain, right? Like how is AI impacting their domain is something which is like the hot topic right now. And I keep interrogating about it and thinking about
Yeah.
it as well. I think I know you said that let's not go too far back, and I might just go way too far
Sure.
back. But when I look at design as a field, right, it's not very old compared to how the PM and the engineering side of the roles have been over the years,
Mhm.
right? So they've been the software industry has been what over 80 years, 100 years now, and the engineering team, the development team, and the PM side of it has been there since many, many years. If we look at design, design has been very new. Like, I guess, what, 30 years? I remember Don Norman was the one who really coined the term user experience as such in, I think, 1993 or something when he was in Apple. So that's when, like, Apple is where what really changed the way people look at design. Like it was not just about being functional, but it was also about making it look better, making the experience look better. So we are fairly a very young business to be in right now, the niche that we are all part of as UX. And if you see how design has evolved over the last 20 years, it has been very rapid. Like if compared to how engineering team and the other teams that we see have evolved, we have rapidly evolved a lot. So I feel like this is something which we've all been part of. We've been taught from the beginning on how to adapt quickly and how to really problem solve, right? Like that is what is core to us as designers. I don't know if how many people really know this story, and like I said, Arjun, I'm going way far behind, but this was something which is focused during our college days.
Mhm.
During World War II, some of the best pilots were crashing the planes often. I don't know if you know the story. They used to uh, crashed the plane quite often, and the aviation team started to do some investigation, and they found out to see whether if it's because of technical error or if the plane, there is something faulty with the plane.
Mhm.
Found that everything was perfectly fine with the plane. It just became that the pilot was not scared, right? Like, and maybe the pilot needs more training, so the user who's using the plane becomes the person who is not, and they have to adapt to what is being created. That is how it was. And at that time,
Mhm.
there was a psychologist who was hired, and they were to investigate this. And he found out that in the cockpit there were there were two switches which were
Mhm.
used, which were placed next to each other, and they were doing two different, like, purpose. It was for two different purposes. One was to control the landing, and the other one was to control the wing flaps. Um, Now just imagine this pilot, right? Like he is stressed, he's just had a tiring days and then at war, and
Hmm.
the situation, there's so much of cognitive load, and up in the sky the environment is not going to be exactly the same every time you're going to fly, right? So
Yeah.
imagine the amount of cognitive load that, at that time that person is going to have, that pilot is going to have. And of course he might get confused with a similar looking like toggle, and by mistake, if he would have pressed the other one, boom, the
Hmm.
crash would have happened. So planes were fine, pilots were fine. The problem was with design, right? So
Hmm.
when I see that, uh, even though it was functional, but it was not keeping in mind the human, the environment, and the situation behind it, right? Um, to fix it, they just changed the shape of both the toggles and the switches. And now the pilot is able to, differentiate between them very easily, which is what we really call as affordance, in kind of the UX terminology. So
Yeah.
that was the first time when it occurred to somebody that we need to keep in mind humans, as while creating interfaces. So computers are not just about interacting with humans, but there is a lot of how the interaction really happens. That's where the whole world of HCI, right, like the human computer interaction, really came in. Now,
Hmm.
what, 80 years after the World War II, and we see that we are facing the same problem right now with how design is evolving, how uh, people are using all of these powerful AI tools. Like we're filled with AI tools. Every day there is some new tool that is coming up.
Hmm.
Everyone's using it left, right, and center. People are creating, PMs, engineers, stakeholders, everyone, right, are creating wireframes, screens, prototypes on the go while they're in a meeting. They're just creating something and taking feedback from the users or from the stakeholders in a meeting, etc. So people are creating a lot of things, and designers are feeling that, maybe is this a threat to me? Is this something that I should be scared about, right? Like that's a question that a lot of people, and I
Yep.
myself, had in the beginning. um,
Yep.
and it was similar back then, right, when the software industry really came up, right? There was so much that was happening. There was so many things that was being produced, but what was really lacking, and what I feel right now as well, which is lacking, if you see every design that, to me, in my day to day life, when a PM comes to me, and nowadays people don't come to you with a document. They come to you with a prototype and
Yeah.
say, hey, this is what I imagine.
Mhm.
Now can you please
Yeah.
fix this, and then, make it better. So make it better is not what we really do, right, like as designers.
Hmm.
Yes, that is one part of it. Make the experience better, but it's user experience, right? Like if you look closer at all of these designs, the layout is beautiful, it's pixel perfect, like alignment is great, all of that is great. But what
Hmm.
about, the basic fundamentals of design, of user experience as such, is whether it is usable, right? Whether there is a soul to it, right? Whether there is content hierarchy, whether the interaction is fine. I've seen, like myself, right, like when I use these tools, I feel like sometimes AI just lacks common sense, and it just puts random things like in random places. Yes, it's using all the design system very well, but the button is like put somewhere in one corner, and then you're like, why can't you just like think properly, like because you're expecting it to function that way, like a human that you're
Right.
interacting with.
So
So
still pretty rudimentary in that regard, like when it
correct.
actually, yeah. Okay.
Exactly, right. So, um, yeah, interfaces might look very finished with what the kind of things that are being produced right now, but I feel it lacks character. It lacks that story that we try to really build in, right? So when we create design, it's based on the people, the artifacts, and the environment around it, right? These are three very important pillars. In addition to it, your user behaviors, fears, emotions, what really drives the user, what blocks them. A lot more is going on while you actually think about creating a design. So, like I said, I think because our industry is so new, it's somewhere I feel like, we keep fighting for the seat on the table, where we see that we design is misunderstood to just making visual look pretty, which is what people are doing right now. But there's a lot more to it which we really need to do. So I feel like what I see is what execution is what is being really done right now, which has become very fast. And I think as designers, we imagine this is powerful tool that we have, and we have the ability to be able to create something, think out of the box. And to be honest, I think now we will be able to create something without the whole thing of scoping it down because of tech constraints or bandwidth constraints, which we keep hearing a lot. When we go with a great out of the box idea, or something which is a little bit yeah, challenging sort of a design idea. I wouldn't call it just a design, but an idea. We usually get this in the tech industry, right? Like, oh, there is bandwidth constraint, or there is this tech constraint, or we need to have. There are too many constraints that we work with in the internet. But now we have this partner, which is these AI tools, which can create so much for you. And as UX designers, right, we need to be thinking about the humans first, and how do we really create these design interfaces, which is uh, firstly, I think, when I think about it, is it even interface right now, right? Like, one trend that is coming in, it's also about how interfaces are disappearing, how interfaces are evolving. There are a lot of different um, uh, kind of experiences that people are doing right now, more spatial, more experiential. So it's not about the same old. I'm not going to expect, when I go to Mintra, or when I go to a Make My Trip, to actually follow all of those 10 steps to be able to book a ticket. It's more conversational. So conversational UI is something which is really coming up. Experiential UI, all of this is something which I feel is something which, space, gestures, more immersive experience is something which is trending. And as designers, we need to leverage this tool, or these tools, to empower ourselves and to be able to actually come up with solutions, which is going to be like a differentiator for us. So um, I feel like there's a lot of exciting things that we can actually do, and to do with AI. So it was a long answer.
No,
Yeah.
I think there is just so much happening in the space that I think it's important that you cover all the critical points. The part that I do want to talk a little bit more about, before we jump to the sort of next topic, is around AI capabilities, right? So I think that is one area where there's a lot of noise, honestly, because yes, I mean, we know what's happening with the biggest tools out there, like let's say Figma and Adobe, and some of the other ones that most people know about. But there are also a lot of new tools that are sprouting up every day, almost, right? Because there's just so many use cases of AI to different aspects of design. So what I wanted to understand is, from your perspective, where do you see the biggest uh, potential right now within the next few months itself, not for the foreseeable long-term future, but within the next few months itself, where do you see biggest potential for improving that efficiency as well as quality of output? I know you said there's more efficiency right now, less kind of quality of output that's happening, but still,
Yeah.
if you could help sort of dissect that into more granularity, that in the next few months, people who are thinking about leveraging AI for design, or even building their portfolio, not necessarily in their mainstream day-to-day work, how should they think about leveraging AI, and where should they be cautious about leveraging AI, because it could be a time suck, or it could just not necessarily give them the right output.
Very interesting question, and area to really think about, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, like I said, I think the space is constantly evolving, and there is a lot that's happening, and it's evolving at a very fast pace. And I think that's why there is a lot of fear in missing out. I feel like, oh, there is another tool that's come up today. What am I supposed to do? And people feel a bit lost on what to really focus on and how to what should I do to be to still be relevant in the industry currently, right? So that is something. Is that what like I think the first part of the question that you asked about what are the kind of things that you need to do? Is that the correct question?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I mean, let's take an example, right? Like, let's say in UI UX, you have to do five different things to get to the right design, which could include UX research, a lot of interviews, competitor analysis. Then you start perhaps doing your initial wireframes and just brainstorming initial ideas. Then you have to perhaps do mock-ups. You have to get feedback from internal stakeholders, polish off the design, build the prototype. I'm guessing that's the overarching cycle. There might be differences to that, but tell me, in this workflow, where do you see biggest opportunity for efficiency? Where earlier, if it was taking days or weeks, it can take less than that, much less than that, because of AI, and how? And similarly, the quality of output. Where do you see in each of these aspects of the workflow, potential for improving your own capabilities with the help of AI?
Okay. So, like I said, I think execution has become something which everybody is able to do right now, right? So, and
Right.
I feel thinking is what is a skill that all of us should be focusing on, and not just now, right? Like I said, does being part of this industry and over these years, what I've learned is uh, it is not just about creating these screens. We've had like evolution of all of these tools, right? Like when I started my career, I started with making wireframes in PowerPoint. Then we moved to Illustrator. Then there was something called Balsamic. Then there was Sketch. And now there is Figma, and then there would be something else, right? Or there might not be any tool at all to create all of these things as well. So skill wise, I would say that right now the way people are using AI tool, of what I see is, and it's very new right now. No one is wrong, everyone's just trying to experiment, but at the end of the day the focus is a lot more on what is, what we're generating, and generating at speed, which is what even organizations are expecting. How soon can you generate something? So in that entire process, I feel somewhere we are forgetting what are we building and who are we building for. I feel that is where we need to really focus on and think about um, what is that what is that benefit that we can get out of how a how a user experience is really created. Like you said, right, their entire process of doing research, then analyzing the research, that itself, right, that initial first process itself is very time taking. A lot of times in organizations I've seen that research is deprioritized because of the time it takes. Now I feel like that's a great thing that we can leverage from AI, right? Like if you look at the strengths of AI, researching, analysis, putting together the data, identifying these data patterns, these are things which it is really good at. And I think we should leverage that to our benefit, and to be able to go to our stakeholders and have that conversation where we are able to back it up with user data as well. So I think that's a great space for us to be able to leverage AI, and improve our efficiency in their entire design process as such. Next comes is your your design as such. Detailed design is something that AI can do. When I look at the strengths again, what it can't do is think of the nuances. What it can't do is think of identify why that user has there is a lot of emotion that goes behind. So there is something called PET research: persuasion, emotion, and trust as well. So it's a lot about how and what a person is really feeling while interacting with the website, be it an ISRTC or be it a luxurious website or any other thing. So there is always emotion that goes behind, and there is a lot of situation that goes behind interacting with with an interface. So that is something which I feel right now AI is not able to do, but it can do the detailed design, right? It takes so many it takes a lot of time to actually go on Figma and change single thing everywhere. all of these repetitive tasks is something that AI can automate. Use that to the fullest. But now, when I see there is so much of my bandwidth that has been released because of using and leveraging AI tools, that I can actually focus on what is the true problem. How can I really invest that much time in reading more about the domain, understanding more about the users, understanding more about the competitors, creating those journey maps. All of this is again something which I can leverage. Plus, there's no dependency right now. Like when you work in organizations like not just in Microsoft, but even with my previous organizations, be it small or big scale, you always have different roles and different people doing different things, right? So there is dependency on how and what kind of data that you get. And there is a sort of constraint on what and how much information that you're going to get out of it. And then you're manually doing that mapping and finding out patterns, etc. So this is something that we can actually use AI tool as a thought partner, right? Like it's your smartest research, PM, eng partner. Ask whatever question you want, and I'm sure it'll give you a great response. And use it to you understand the human emotions. Put that layer on top, which is what your addition is going to be, right? As a thinker, analyze those patterns, connect those dots. Based on that, if you're able to come up with an out of the box idea, um, now that you do not have constraints as well, right? Like, because like I said previously as well, initially if I'm able to think of a structure or think of a different design for it, because of multiple constraints, it usually gets shot down and usually gets scoped down and all of that. Now that's another area that we can leverage with AI, because now if I'm able to, there are so many tools, right? It actually gives you a complete code for it within
Mhm.
minutes. So that's the best way. Now I'm not dependent on someone
Yeah.
to shut down my idea. So I can always create this experiment with it. And a lot of times what happens is when I actually see the concept that we have in mind in a visual way as well, it kind of helps us iterate and find out whether it's actually working, it's not working. So yeah, there is a lot of different tools and different ways that we can use this to improve our efficiency. But for now, I feel like the main it's like a director, right? Like you're trying to direct the entire play that's happening around you with all of these different tools doing different activities for you. But if you have the vision for it, if you're able to see the vision of what you want to build, to be able to understand and connect all of these dots, is a skill that I think we should all be focusing and our energies on.
Got it. No, I think that's very well structured. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, one of the things that we frequently get asked, and then I'll move on to the next topic because I know we have spent quite a bit of time just on discussing the high level trends. But one of the things that we keep getting questions on is improving your taste, your judgment, and how you can actually align your output in the strongest manner possible compared to what organization your client or users are expecting, right? Now, is there a use case for? I know you said there are certain things which AI would not be able to do, in terms of identifying areas how to build trust or lead to certain emotions, those kind of things. But is there a way that AI can play a role in expanding my capabilities as a designer to improve not just the more tactical things or the execution aspects, but the core skill around improving my taste, judgment, and being able to put forward the right creative thoughts and brainstorm the right ideas to begin with.
Interesting. Like I said, I think it's right now based on my experience on using all of these different, AI tools. They're be it Claude or Lovable and multiple other tools, right? VS Code, etc. Um, I feel like to be honest, the kind of inputs that it is given. So I keep changing the way I communicate with the tool, right? Like sometimes it's not just about uh, asking for a suggestion, right? But it is also about having a conversation with the tool. and trying to debate about it. So there are different ways that you can use to have have that conversation with the tool to be able to brainstorm, simulate that experience probably with the tool. But what is great here is if I'm able to simulate or brainstorm with a bunch of people, there are different ideas that are coming in. But I can also simulate the same thing with the AI, right? Like I can ask that, let's assume that this, is like a focus group discussion that we're doing together, and you pretend to be XYZ people with different opinions, and I will put forth my opinion. And now each of you guys, and one can be, one can talk about it in a positive way. One can be a judge for it, or one can be someone who is just like how a real situation is, right? So there are different ways that you can. That is how I use the tool to be able to brainstorm more and think of different ideas. But somewhere I feel like it just kind of it comes to a stage where you're able to come up with all of that. But now what is great is, when you're in a live scenario, right? Like when you come out of a focus group discussion, you're like, oh god, there were so many points, there were so many things that were discussed, you've taken notes and all of that. But now how to synthesize all of this? Now with AI, that is again great. Like it's going to give you a synthesis of all of the conversations that you've had without really thinking or worrying about um, how you want to analyze all of that. Like I said, analysis is a great skill that all the AI tools which we have seen is there, and I feel we should leverage that, but moderate the discussion with your AI tool in different ways to get different things. That's something which has helped me, and yeah, it might be useful.
No, great. All right. So thanks for bearing with me. I know I kind of probed slightly deeper into these common questions that we get right up front. But I think the other thing that we really wanted to focus on, I think you have highlighted some aspects of it, is in the current job market, right? Which is a very competitive, very challenging kind of a job market, just because there is probably a very high volume of candidates from all the layoffs that have happened, people switching jobs more frequently than before, and people also applying to more jobs than usual. So earlier, like if you were applying to, let's say, 100 jobs, AI has made it possible for you to apply to now 200 jobs within the same time frame, because you're finding jobs quicker, you're customizing your applications quicker, and all of those things. So what I wanted to understand is, in this kind of a crowded job market, what are some of the things you are seeing, that candidates, especially not just very early career, but let's say somebody with 5 years to 10 years, or maybe even slightly more experience, do differently to stand out in the current job market when they're applying to these UI UX design roles?
Yeah, I think first is the portfolio as well, right? Like if
Mhm.
I think couple of things, right? First is we are not just competing with humans. In the near future, there would be agents, which are also called digital co-workers, or like there are multiple names to it. But we would also be competing for job roles with these agents and digital co-workers. So we need to ensure that the kind of profile and the way we are right now, or the way we present ourselves, is something which is unique, and it is not just about competing. Like now, if I have to apply to, let's say, a Google or an Amazon or any other company, the applicants would be humans again. Like my profile is being compared to 10 other human applicants. Later on, that's not going to be the case. So that's another completely different domain that we need to be mindful of as well. But I think, to be honest, from a portfolio perspective, or from a what we have to do, or what can I do to be able to stand out, is something which I have still not been able to understand with what all is going on. But one thing which, or like few things which I've tried to understand. One is, don't be a generalist. Be like, if you're able to focus on one skill and say that, okay, this is something that I'm really good at right now, I will be able to catch the attention, I guess, more, or that's something which probably will catch my attention when I'm seeing like a bunch of profiles. If I see a portfolio with with like or like with everything, right? Like with product design thing, projects. Then there is brand design, there is UX design, a bit of everything, and then probably a few case studies here and there. Yes, it shows the depth. People think that yes, I'm putting for all of the skills that I have, and probably something which resonates with the interviewer might they might be able to click on it and see it. But I feel like somehow that shows that you are not confident, you're not clear on what is it that you want to really portray. This is something that I've noticed portfolios that I've seen in the recent past.
Mhm.
So I would say, like, focusing on few projects, being very clear on what is the impact that you've created using that in that project is something which will really catch the attention. And how, of course, see, using the AI tool is something which is given right now. Like if you say that these are different AI tools that I've used, then because that is
Yeah.
something which is basic. Like you need to know it. It's a given. But how are you leveraging it? And how have you used it to create that impact is a story that I would want to see. So storytelling can be very important. How you narrate the story, how you're able to come up with that entire narration. Don't make it too data heavy, I say. I see a lot of portfolios are filled with process in the beginning and like going 2, 3 scrolls, and then towards the end there are like few screens which explains what the concept is, or like a video or something. But that is not something which is going to process is something which everyone knows that you've followed, right? Like that, those should be in the appendix. It should talk about the project, the problem that you've solved, how you have solved, if there is before and after, and the impact that you've created, and what are the different methods that you've used to be able to come to that. So if that's the kind of format you see, and then you see, okay, you've done these research, you've done all of this, and that's all part of appendix, and if I'm interested in getting deeper into it, I'll click on those links and probably go and see and dig deeper into it. But keep it short, keep it crisp, keep it very clear is what would, I think, make it different now.
Got it. Can you maybe, I think those are all very valid points. Could you maybe think of an example where you can talk about these aspects in a more sort of vivid manner? Like maybe take a project that either you worked on or perhaps another candidate you hired recently had worked on, how they kind of showcased all of these things that you're talking about in terms of the process, the actual designs, and perhaps any supporting work that they might have put. I think it will just help people really kind of visualize. I think a lot of designers might be benefited by that kind of visualization.
Unfortunately, we have not hired anyone in the recent past. It's been a
Recent
hiring
past.
freeze. Yeah, it's been like hiring freeze going on everywhere. But there are a lot of people who reach out to me for portfolio, reviewing their portfolios and helping with seeing how their portfolios can be improved.
Sure.
That's where I saw, that, and a lot of them through Pivot as well. And
Yeah.
that's when I saw that what is really going to help me catch that attention is the impact in how you
Hmm.
have the designer. What is the
Hmm.
impact? Because they will start the project and they will take 15-20 minutes to explain through. There is a double diamond in every project that I see. There is research, there is posted image that would be there,
Hmm.
user persona slide will be there. So these are
Hmm.
standards that I've seen in not just in the recent past, but like over the years, like in the past when we've actually hired for Microsoft as well, right, and for other organizations. This is a standard, and to be honest, we just skip through it. Like you just scroll through it, and then you go down, and you look backwards and see what exactly the process. Again, everybody has a very different way of analyzing the portfolio. Um,
Hmm.
but the first impression is, let's see what the problem statement is, what is the solution that has come out, and what is the impact, what really helps. And this is something which I've always used during my presentations. It's not just the portfolio, I would say. It is not just for your interviews, it is also for your internal presentations to your stakeholders, which will really help. And especially organizations like Microsoft, where you get very less time. You get 10 minutes or like 5 minutes for a presentation, and I can't be showing them the entire process out there, right? So storytelling becomes a very important thing there, and that's where I learned that, yeah, like I said, not just for interviews outside, but this format really helps in structuring what your thought is and how you've come up with the. So there's a 3 slide concept which we have here, where how could you summarize whatever you have done in 3 slides. So to begin with, you're like, there is so much I've done. How can, like, what
Yeah.
if the other person doesn't know, right? Like, I've gone through so much. Of course they
Mm.
know that you've done all of this. If you've done all of this, and if your end result is not worth it, then the point
Mm.
of doing all of this is gone. So the whole thing of this 3 slide summarizing whatever you have done in 3 slides kind of helps articulate what you want to express,
Mhm.
and the impact, right? Like, this is something which data, again, not everybody probably has a data on how they've been able to improve the experience. But there would be a lot of other kind of data as well, right? Like, that we can do, that we can show, to be able to, um, yeah, to be able to show that, to catch that attention.
Right, right. Yeah, I think from a portfolio perspective, makes a lot of sense. And, I think many of the aspects that you have talked about, I see that candidates are trying to do that. But I think there was some new good insights which I think might correct certain, I don't know, myths or, false idea of what hiring managers are looking for. Like the process part, I think that's a very, very valid point. A lot of people do spend pages and pages. I don't know where they're getting that reference from, but they're definitely getting it somewhere. Perhaps, off the internet, some boilerplate templates that are making them do that. But I like the emphasis on impact. I like that you want to showcase your actual work and the type of designs you've done as soon as possible, not like buried later. Anything in regard with outside of the portfolio that you want to emphasize on, um, like from not necessarily resume and LinkedIn profile perspective, but like let's say any sort of networking oriented or outreach process that you have applied, not in the recent past, but let's say before, when your company was hiring or you were applying to jobs. Is there anything on networking, anything on how to showcase the right skill alignment through upskilling? Is there anything on those fronts as well in addition to job applications?
Actually, that's a great point, right? And I think networking is definitely a very, very big part of how we operate in this world right now. And I just hope we never go out of trend with that, that side of it, because that whole human to human interaction in person kind of really helps, exchanging of ideas, different perspectives. I think it's a lot of unstructured conversation, which kind of brings a lot of perspective, right? Like, usually in an interview, you're prepared, or in your CV, it's prepared. And these days, CV and portfolio, all of this is also again created and generated by AI or using AI's help, right? So it's all become very templatized, I feel. So maybe the need for actually networking, socializing, putting forth your point of view in front of an audience, because that also shows confidence, right? Like how you're able to interact and communicate with your point of view. So that's something which I feel will come through networking, and it should definitely, and that's something which I think all of us should be open to, and I would really encourage everyone. And especially I've seen this a lot, has declined quite a lot with the younger generation,
Mm,
with COVID, right? Like, after COVID, the whole work from home situation, and everyone's just in a comfortable zone of working from home, and
yeah.
um, not interacting much with people around and teams around. But there
Yeah.
is so much that you get when you not just networking with your setup. Like if I am part of UX industry, I don't want to just go and meet people with the same industry, right? Like I'm not going to go for networking events which is just design led, or design conferences, etc. Yes, that's important. You hear different perspectives about from people, but it is also to do with interacting with different set of people. So when you're in an organization, when you come to an office, you have these conversations over lunch, over tea, or over just random things with so many people. And a marketing person can come and tell you a very different perspective about how your product is being sold, what are the kind of concerns they are facing, and just in general their market, how does it look like. So my husband is from sales and marketing. I am in my bubble now of design world, and this is what is happening in my world, and this is what is happening when he comes. And when we have those conversations about what's really happening in his part of the world, you feel like, oh, there is some sort of perspective from there as well, and there is a lot to learn from there.
Hmm.
And you're not alone, I guess, in the whole how the whole industry is going right now. So for
Yeah,
sure, network more, connect with more people, and not just with your industry, connect with like different set of people.
sure.
Will really help.
Okay. No, thanks for sharing that. And I do want to just maybe double tap on that because at Pivot, that is one of the main things that we enable is human to human connections for both feedback that might be hard to get otherwise on your own, as well as just creating more visibility within the right ecosystem, within the right networks for yourself. Radhika, you've been part of our mentor network for the last couple of months, and thank you for being part of that and for adding value. I think we always love seeing the kind of positive messages and testimonials that people leave about how it would have taken them much more time to find those things, if at all, that they found very very quickly. So I think this human element is something that we deeply believe in, and we have seen tangible benefits of enabling these connects. So definitely would want to make sure that people are aware that they should be doing this as part of their not just job search but their career development overall. And they should also think about not just leveraging their core network, because sometimes you might not be able to get the right type of feedback right away, or you might not know the right kind of people. But there are other platforms out there like Pivot, like others, that you can explore and find mentors and find connects like Radhika. But with that, Radhika, what we can do is there are certain questions that have come up from the audience during the session. So maybe we can dive into some of these questions, see what your
Absolutely.
thoughts are on that. So one of the first questions we have, it's more like a statement, but I think it's sort of like a question as well, is from Tejaswini, and I've shown it here. So he's working at the intersection of organization behavior, AI strategic design, understanding the implications of org structure when individual agency has significantly increased with AI augmentation. So I think perhaps he's trying to understand how, depending in the organizational structure, how does an individual kind
Hmm.
of leverage AI for design purpose? That's what I'm taking away from this particular statement that's been shared. But do you have any thoughts on that? Like, let's say Microsoft is a very large organization. There's so many different complex rules, processes, etc., and so many different types of collaborations you might have to do, as opposed to, let's say, an early stage startup which has very lean org structure,
Yeah.
and they move much. I'm just assuming, although I know Microsoft moves very fast, but let's say they have the luxury of moving even faster at the startup,
Yeah.
right? And they can adopt different AI tools very quickly and experiment things because there's no red tape, there's no bureaucracy. So how would an individual function in these type of different environments when it comes to taking up AI and leveraging it for design purpose?
I think, like you said, right? I don't see any difference in how an individual, in a smaller organization or a larger organization, really um, leverages and uses AI in their day to day work as such. I feel like it's more to do with like how you're using it and how you're creating that impact again, right? So to his question, where he's saying that the intersection of organization behavior, AI, strategic design, right, understanding the implications of organization structure when individual
Mhm.
agency has significantly increased with AI augmentation. Yes, everyone is using AI. Everyone is using AI in different ways, right? Every team member, every department is using AI in different ways. How are you, what would really differentiate you is to be able to understand and connect those dots with people. I feel behavioral psychology, right, is something which is very important in our domain that we are looking at. And if
Mhm.
we are able to use that to the strategy design, when he's saying strategic design, right, like in terms of strategic design, there is a lot to do with behavioral psychology on how you're able to understand the user, what are the drives, what are the blocks, come up with that strategy on how you're able to solve that problem. If And I think what has really helped me is to be able to break that down on what is AI, like the SWOT, right, of AI, of an AI tool, of whatever things I'm using. Make it human. Don't look at it as a digital tool which is great and stuff. Just break it down and make it into a human. Try to do that SWOT. In fact, I did that. I have done a SWOT for all the AI tools that I've used. When you understand the strengths and the weaknesses of someone or something that you're working with, it becomes very easy to be able to partner with that tool and leverage and make use it to your benefit. So depending on the situation that you are in, you will be able to quickly understand, okay, this is the tool that is useful for me for XYZ thing, to collaborate with people, to research, to design, to create something, or to be able to put everything together. So yeah, try to understand and evaluate that based on what your organization needs, because it can be different for different people. And different
Mhm.
companies, based on situations, will use the tool in a very different way. Like a healthcare industry would use the
Mhm.
tool in a very, that entire setup would use their tools, the same tool, in a very different way versus how a person in a security organization, like for Microsoft security as well, right, how we would use the tool would be very different, and leverage. So yeah, that's something that might help.
Got it. I like the part around, I think, different, not just org structures, but the industries, different domains, different contexts that they might bring to the table. That's very helpful. There's another question we have, which I'm showing now. I think this is an interesting one. Should we create a short video telling a story instead of screenshots? And I assume this is more with regard to, portfolio, where you might show your screenshots as opposed to a short video. I mean, a lot of people do say that video is the future. A lot of the AI tools that are being created also, like for example, customer service, sales rep kind of AI tools that are being created out there have a video first mentality. So what are your thoughts? I mean, this is a relevant question, maybe slightly unique, but still a very relevant question.
I would say video is past. People were using videos in their portfolio.
Mhm.
Now I feel immersive design is more, like that's something which would be more, right, like for me to be able to interact. Just imagine, right, like if my portfolio just opens up to the product that I've actually created, and I'm able to, there are a lot of these, Google used to do these little games, right, I don't remember the name of it, but it's just, there is a problem that they're trying to solve. It was very simple, right? I think it was about Earth Day or something, and they wanted to share that as a problem. And the whole concept was about awareness, creating awareness about Earth, for the Earth Day. So that, for environment, etc. But they just made it into a very immersive experience. So when you interact with it, there is a lot that you're understanding. You don't need to explain anything there. So a short video video also nowadays, if you see the length, the attention span of watching a video is not more than 10 seconds because of all of these social media things. So how short can you make a video? If you're going to make a video for 1 minute, 2 minutes, nobody's going to sit and look at it and then
Yeah.
actually go through it. I would rather skim through, a deck and pick what I want to see. But I feel immersive experience is something which, and immersive design, right? Like that's another area which is also part of what is trending these days. So maybe trying something around that area would be a lot more fun to do, rather
Hmm.
than video, I would say. How short
Interesting.
video means how short, right? Like how short. It can't be 10 seconds for sure. You can't explain
Sure.
your story in 10 seconds. If you're able to, that means you're a great storyteller and that's going to land really well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Would you say, I mean, one of the things that we see frequently, founders do this, not necessarily designers, but anytime there's, let's say, like a product explainer video or like a demo kind of a video, a lot of people do record themselves kind of walking through the product. And obviously, founders do it more from a sales perspective, like they explain like why the product is helpful to the intended audience. But and let's say if you're talking about a designer, you think like recording themselves, using like Loom kind of a tool or something like that, where they do the walkthrough of their entire design process as well as the actual interaction with the design, saying like, this is, why this design element was chosen over something else. Do you think that kind of a video, which might be slightly longer, maybe like a minute, 2 minutes kind of a thing, could work? Or do you think still like just having interactive design is the way to go?
I think a combination of both is something which will be really interesting.
Hmm.
And I am just looking at it from a very different tangent right now, right?
Yeah.
Because all of this is already happening, and there are a lot of video portfolios that you get even today. Like people introduce themselves instead of writing their details, personal details, etc. So they would just
Yeah.
put like a small little clipping of who they are and what they are. So that also shows their personality. It does add to a nice element when you see someone popping up, but then I don't know. I feel like you need to be a great storyteller to be able to catch that attention, right? So I feel like it's a double-edged sword where it might land very well if you are a great storyteller and if you're actually able to come up with, the way you speak, the way the narration happens, editing, a lot of thing goes into it. So if you're able to do that, amazing, right? Like, of course, we've all watched Dhurandhar, which is 4 hours long, which is not at all the traditional thing, but we were glued to it because the storytelling was amazing. So
Hmm.
if you're able to do that, I'm sure even if it's a 5 minute video, people will look at it.
Yeah.
But having something which is, but yeah, I mean, you need to be very creative in how you're creating that video. If it is just going to be the same thing, which is, yeah, this is the process that I followed, this is what I did, and this is what I, nobody will be like, yeah, I'm just forwarding it, and then it's not going to land very well. So if you're a
Mm.
strong storyteller and if you're able to think of different ways to be able to land that in a video format, great, you should go ahead. Definitely, it's a new way of looking at it. But I would still say immersive experience is something which would probably, it's not something which people are looking at right now. But
Mm.
with these AI tools, like if I'm able to use, Agency or Copilot or Claude or any of these tools to be able to create a portfolio which is more a project, the same project that I've created, but in a much more immersive way that people are actually able to. Because, for example, I work with security, and now if I'm going to go on for an interview to somebody tomorrow and I'm going to explain to them, and security um, is very complex, right? Like the kind of tools that the kind the people our users use is extremely complex. So definitely something where a voiceover where I'm able to put that context and explain. If it is just a document, probably it will not land that well. But if I'm able to create a story around it and then share it with you, it'll be fun for you to actually get into a life and actually just imagine you are a hacker and you are actually hacking something, and then this is how a notification comes to your organization. So if I'm able to simulate that kind of an experience, and I don't have to explain, I don't even need a voiceover for it, right? Like you just understand that this is a solution that I've given you and you just get it. So immersive experience, I feel, would be a good path to take.
Got it. Okay. No, I think valid point. I think hybrid sort of is the way to go. I think we just have one more question, Radhika. I know we are sort of past our time a little bit, but do you think you actually this is
That's
less of
fine.
a question, more again of a statement, and I think I would just like your input and your perspective on it. Um, I'm not sure if you already know Gagan, but Gagan has shared this perspective around in portfolios. I think, would you like to shed spotlight onto portfolios that highlight failures, assumptions turned wrong, decisions that got hijacked during stakeholder discussions? Very interesting, kind of like
Yeah.
sharing things that didn't work and using that as an opportunity to explain your core insights that you then use to perhaps improve or fine tune your designs. What do you think about that?
This is great storytelling, and I know Gagan, and he's a great storyteller. That's why this question is coming from him as well.
Yeah.
This is storytelling, right? Like you are able to build that narration very well while you're showing your. So you're not just talking about what is great about me and what great I have done in this project, but you are building that story by saying, because you're not just going to talk about the failure, I'm assuming, but you're also going to talk about how you've overcome that and to come to whatever you've achieved. So that narration, that story for me is very interesting, to be able to understand who you are as a person. It's more real. And it also shows, in this whole AI world where everything is perfect, everything is structured, everything is validated, there is that realism still there. So it would be great, and this is a great point that Gagan has brought up, that in portfolios, if you're able to also showcase this also shows confidence, right? Like you're able to openly talk about it and how you've overcome it, and then you've actually created something. So the story is complete for me.
Got it. Great. I think then we have covered everything. Thanks so much again for sharing all your insights, Radhika. Is there any sort of one parting thought that you would like to leave our audience with when it comes to, two things? One is AI being used for design, and secondly, how to navigate the current job market.
Yeah, with AI, I feel like there's no fear. I don't think we should, as humans right now, not just designers, really feel scared of how to use and or if AI will really replace our jobs. I feel like we are at a stage where we have certain skills and we should just empower. This is like a magic wand given to us with so many, different skills. Just like how a child is fearless in actually using, like, if you give a magic wand or a magic pencil to a child, they're just going to create something which they're going to not even think about without any fear, right? So I think that is where we are right now, the whole shakalaka boom boom pencil sort of a thing, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I feel like feel empowered with whatever tools you're using. Try to understand and leverage the strengths of AI and your own strengths as well.
Mm.
Each one of us, at whatever stage in the career we are at, there is a lot that we have learned, there is a lot that we know, which AI hasn't yet. Maybe in the future it will. But yeah, try to validate both of that and try to leverage that for your own benefit. So that is how, I mean, partner with AI, so that you're with these AI tools, so that you're able to actually do something extraordinary now.
Amazing. No, thanks again, Radhika. I think that was very powerful. I hope a lot of folks who have joined us and who will be seeing this will take your advice to heart and can actually, because they're so practical, they're so rooted in real world insights. I think they can really benefit by applying them to whatever folks are doing in their day-to-day design work, as well as perhaps during their job search and career transition. And folks, thanks again for joining today on Thursday evening. I hope you got these critical insights. And if you have any other further questions for Radhika, she is a mentor with us on Pivot. You can definitely check out her profile by going to mypivot.work and see if you think you can benefit from having a more personalized session and getting her feedback as well. That being said, we will be sharing this video recording and the key insights with our broader community. So keep an eye out for that. That's it for today. And thank you again, Radhika, for making time for this. Really appreciate it. And I hope we'll get to do another one again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Arjun, for having me. I think these discussions just give a lot of learning for myself as well.
Mhm.
The questions kind of open up a different way of, or a different tangent of how I also think about, you know, the ways of working and what really is happening around us right now. So it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone. Thank you